Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to Daring Dialogues. I am your host, Shantae Charles. I hope that you all are having a great and wonderful day. Thankfully, my live streams were able to come on time today, so that is a big win. All right. So today we are talking love. We are talking marriage. We're talking marriage styles. And we are reading an excerpt from the book by Joe Hill. And it's called Sex Begins in the Kitchen. As you can see, that's a little bit of a risque cover there. But he's talking about marriage. He's talking about relationship building and intimacy in marriage. So we are going to read a couple of excerpts, a couple of chapter sections from his book today in the second half of our broadcast. His book is available through Amazon.com, and he has it in ebook form as well as the hard copy, as you can see here. All right. But we are going to start, first of all, with Gary Thomas, The Sacred Search. And we're going to continue to talk about these marriage styles. All right. So for people who want to be married, who desire to be married, I think it's real interesting when people tend not to want to be on a broadcast that's talking about marriage and things that you will need to know as you become a person who becomes a candidate for being married. All right. So this is a broadcast that you want to share with those who are looking to be married. This is a broadcast you want to share with those who are already in a committed relationship. This is a broadcast you want to share with those who are already married, because one of the things that I believe makes for a glorious and blissful and successful relationship is that you're always learning and growing to see how you can better serve your spouse. All right. And so if you fit into any of those categories, whether you are single and you want to be married, you should be on this broadcast. OK, whether you are in a serious committed relationship and you're headed toward marriage, or whether you're already married. OK, so this broadcast really is for all three categories. Because the married person can learn something, the person who's about to enter marriage can certainly learn something, and the person who desires to be married can learn something today. All right. So as we've been talking, we've been in Gary Thomas's book for quite a bit of time. This is our last relationship broadcast of the season. Tomorrow will be our last broadcast of the season, and we'll be doing giveaways. So prepare your mind for a little bit of trivia to participate in those giveaways. And we've been talking about marriage styles. We aren't going to get through all of them, but we will be back in season 3 to finish up on marriage styles. But last week we talked about 3 of them. We talked about a spiritual soulmate as an ideal marriage style. We talked about business buddies. And we talked about the Adonis and Aphrodite model. Now, one of the things that Gary Thomas was talking about as a marriage counselor is the fact that all of these styles he's presenting, these are some of the common ones, but they're not necessarily all healthy. So as you are listening to him describe these styles, you can kind of pick up how these styles can be healthy and how some of these styles can be detrimental to a relationship. But the fact is, everybody is not operating in a marriage style that's healthy for their life. All right. That's the reality. When we talk as leaders and as pastors, I can tell you that I've seen some of these marriage styles and I've seen where they lead. All right. So we're going to get into actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them today. I'm going to read off real briefly what they are. And then I'll give you an opportunity to screenshot them. Okay. Make sure all my words are showing here. So we have 6 of them that we're going to cover today. All right. We have the Cookbook Couple, the Passionate Partnership, Horror Show House, House and Home Couple, the Kids Are Us couple, and the Bohemian Buddies. So those are the 6 that we're going to deal with for the first half of the broadcast. All right. So I hope that you have something to drink. I want to say good morning to those of you who are stopping in. Good morning, Prophet Jonathan. Good morning, Pastor Ben. Good morning, Lady Barbara. It's always good to see the We Dare Squad and those of you who are regulars into the broadcast today. So again, please share this as we are getting started on the styles of relationships. So let me set this to the side here. All right. Cookbook couple. A cookbook relationship exists when one partner thinks they just need to find the right strategies, add in the correct ingredients, and then they'll get just what they want out of the relationship. You notice a cookbook relationship is forming when one partner seems somewhat obsessed with the process. All right. This is the person who may say, no, we're not going to kiss until the 3rd date, or we're not going to kiss until we get married. We're going to meet each other's parents at this point in the relationship. Our friends need to meet with us in this way. You're supposed to celebrate your first Christmas, your first Valentine's Day, your anniversary like this. They are very, very, very process oriented and process minded. Such people typically read a lot of how-to books, fill out several relationship surveys, and want many sessions of relationship-oriented discussion. I'm not suggesting that advice books aren't helpful, but if you marry a cookbook spouse, you better be ready to participate in all kinds of discussions. They're going to want to be in marital counseling, possibly post-marital counseling. That means that they may want to continue marriage counseling for the first year of your marriage. All right? Which is a good thing. Every couple benefits from counseling. Good morning. And you can all but be assured that this is going to be the kind of spouse that's going to give you books to read and expect you to read them. They're going to give you articles to read and they're going to want to discuss them. All right. And they may get frustrated if you don't participate. All right. So they're going to have to reserve, you're going to have to reserve weekends for marriage conferences. I know a lot of couples that are cookbook couples that strongly believe in participating in annual marriage conferences. Okay? Nothing wrong with it, but this is a very process-oriented person. So this is not necessarily a good or bad description. In many cases, this is a matter of preference. There can be many positive things, he says, about being married to someone who wants to improve their skills as a communicator and spouse. But some people would see this kind of relationship, good morning, Lady Ilana, but some people would see this kind of relationship as exhausting. If a cookbook partner is marrying someone who despises that approach, there will be great frustration. If they both enjoy that sort of thing, their common bent will help them build deep intimacy rather than threaten their intimacy. So if you are married to, or you're planning on marrying someone and you're already noticing that they want to go to a lot of conferences, they want to go to a lot of retreats, they like to read a lot of articles, they have a lot of books on marriage and engagement and process, and they're expecting you to spend as much time as they are spending on building a solid foundation, understand that that is something about them that may very well continue into the rest of the marriage. All right. So if you're not big on reading, you want to build your marriage without going to a conference or going to a retreat every year, this may be a bit problematic for you. All right. Second one, we're moving quickly. The passionate partnership. A passionate partnership is marked by two people who are committed to making each other their highest priority, above recreation, above child rearing, vocation, extended family, hobbies, and just about anything else except God. A passionate partnership can seem intimately intense and satisfying when both people enjoy it, and suffocating when just one of them wants this kind of passion. A person with a passionate partnership mentality reads this and thinks, doesn't everybody want a passionate relationship and partnership? But you may be in a relationship with someone who really enjoys focusing on business or doesn't want to talk when they get home. Or a guy who marries a woman who may be so into her children or into homeschooling and homemaking that she would perhaps rather her husband take the kids out for a nature walk when he gets home rather than spend 45 minutes under her reliving his day. Some people would rather play 18 holes of golf on Sunday without their wives. Other couples think any hobby in which both people can't participate is simply unacceptable. Of course, every marriage should prioritize the marital relationship above work and even parenting. But passionate partners take it a notch higher. They believe the relationship must be nurtured, and they are committed to keep nurturing it throughout their lives. Whatever they experience, they want to experience together. So if one is called away on a business trip, the other one will try to come along, or they will require it as a part of their business transactions for their spouse to come along. How do I know? Because I'm in a passionate partnership. Long conversations, plenty of time alone as a couple, and making each other the emotional center of their existence is expected, enjoyed, and cherished. Two people sharing this vision will indeed maintain an intensely intimate and satisfying relationship. They will not have problems if they have children. They will not have problems leaving their children for a date night or a weekend away. They will be committed to this and even look forward to it. They may well look forward to becoming empty nesters so that they can once again focus on each other. They will not let work demands or volunteer opportunities break into their relational time together. The problem arises only when one person in the relationship is a passionate partner and the other one is not. Then it becomes one person can feel stifled, they can feel smothered, etc. Number 3, the horror show house. This is a relationship style that really does not have an upside to it. And I mentioned this relationship style, he says, so you can avoid it. Some people become interested in a relationship, get this, because unfortunately, a lot of people are in relationships like this. They're only interested in the relationship when they are terrorized or being terrorized by their partner. They are either terrorizing, they're doing the terrorizing, or they're being terrorized by their partner. The reason some people are attracted to each other is that for reasons often related to past wounds and bent personalities, one person likes to be terrorized and the other person likes to do the terrorizing. These couples may fight, argue, make each other miserable and afraid, but they may have quite vigorous makeup sex. Exhausted and spent, they peacefully coexist for another short season until routine sets in and they start the horror cycle all over again. The problems with such a relationship are many. Often the one who once felt comfortable being terrorized eventually gets tired of it. And this form of love is so directly in opposition to agape biblical love that it's a relationship almost doomed to fail from the start. If you feel most connected to someone when they are terrorizing you or abusing you or traumatizing you or speaking down to you, you need to know that this is a spiritual sickness and fake intimacy. And you need to get healed, not married. And somebody can hashtag healed, get healed, not married, and in that order. You can't build a healthy relationship on an unhealthy pattern of relating to your spouse or your potential spouse. You need to deal with this before you even think about making a lifelong choice. I put this in deceptively stark terms to point out its harm. Thank you, Lady Alana. But try to discern the more subtle flavors of such a matching. Does everything seem fine between the two of you until they unleash some sort of crisis? He or she gets in trouble, they cheat on you, they have wandering eyes, Do they say something particularly cruel and then offer a momentary apology, but then another week comes and they're saying something else cruel again? He or she apologizes, you make up, and you think that it was a one-time event. But how many of you know that if your one-time event becomes a one-time-a-month event, there's a problem? When things settle down and you start to get back into a routine, then another crisis erupts or another cruel action erupts. And so you feel like in this kind of relationship that you are walking on eggshells, that you don't know when this person is going to flip out on you again. That is a very dangerous relationship to continue. This is a predictable, unhealthy pattern signifying that the two of you would rather live through terror than walk through the calm. OMG. Not only is it personally destructive, it's a prescription for parental disaster. So imagine you're in this relationship now and maybe you haven't yet to fully commit. You have not gotten engaged yet, but you've been in this relationship maybe a couple of years. All right? You don't have children yet, but throw children into this mix. It's a parental disaster. Children crave stability and are harmed significantly by never-ending crisis, by seeing their parents fight, break up, calm, fight, break up, calm. It's not a good pattern to raise children in. All right? Okay, let's move on. Number 4, house and home marriage. House and home marriage. We've lived by a neighbor who was obsessed with her yard. She mowed the lawn every other day. Just about every other week, she was spreading some new fertilizer or growth aid on the grass. Every time she spoke with us, she talked about her plants, her edging, her landscape, the health of her trees, as if they were her children. When I talked to her about a lawn care company, she looked at me with a horrified expression. You realize, don't you, that they will use the same lawnmower on your yard that they do on everyone else's? Who knows what kind of lawn disease they're spreading? Other people can fixate on a home's interior. If you added up how much time they spend on the internet checking out new furniture, fixtures, home accessories, etc., it would put their Bible study time to shame. Some people sit in their living room just waiting for something to break so they can spring into action and fix it. Remodeling is to them a fulfilling hobby, and they will never truly be done tinkering with their house, their yard, their property, their interior, etc., etc. These are your home repairers, your home renovators, your fixer-upper people. I know 2 couples I can think of off the top of my head personally that are this house and home marriage style. But guess what? In both instances, both spouses enjoy home renovation. Okay? Both of them enjoy home repair. They have several properties that they look after. They spend a lot of their time when they're not doing missions work. They spend a lot of their time working on their home, renovating their home. This would be a marriage where maybe one person is an interior designer, the other person may be in construction or in architecture. That kind of pairing would work well. All right? But if you're a person who sees your house as simply a place to retreat to, okay, but the shape, you're not worried about the shape of your house, the size of your house, whether your house looks like it's spread out for a magazine shoot. None of that, good morning, none of that has to do with your ego or your sense of worth. Okay? You may not want to live in a messy house. You may enjoy living in an aesthetically pleasing house, but you don't want to necessarily sacrifice your weekends every week doing stuff around your house. Okay? So this is the home improvement style couple. This is a couple that doesn't mind spending a lot of their time improving their landscape, improving their lawn, improving their home. They're always looking for something to improve in their house. If you are the person who'd rather exercise, go to a movie, take a long walk, or even a nap, this kind of coupling style may frustrate you. This is largely a matter of choice. And when two people both enjoy dedicating themselves to their house and yard, the pairing can be quite satisfying. Where it becomes a problem is if one partner is more concerned about hospitality than house projects, or if one would rather spend $2,000 on a trip to Europe or Israel rather than spending $2,000 on a brand new sofa for the house. You're going to run into problems if one of you would rather get more aggressive about financial giving or investing rather than spending your money on new lawn equipment or plants. Do you see the problem there? All right. So this is the kind of question you have to ask yourself in this type of relationship pairing. Are you going to focus your energies on a mansion or on a mission? If you're a mission person, marrying a mansion person or a person who likes home upkeep, you are going to be frustrated. Because the challenge is that just about every Christian mansion person will say that they want to be a mission person. It sounds better. It sounds more spiritual. But after the wedding, they may move into home improvement mode. And so they may tell you, I want to be a mission-minded person. But first, we can start inviting people over. Or we can start inviting people in after we get the walls painted, after the new dining room table is set up, after I finish the hard floors, after I redo the bathroom, after I add a pool, after I add a patio, after I add a porch and a veranda. Do you see where that can be a problem? All right. It's funny, but it's not funny. All right. So if you are married to someone that is, as he calls it, mansion oriented, meaning that it's never going to be enough because they're always in the mindset of home improvement, and you may be in the mindset of mission, it may become problematic. All right. So again, this marriage style works best with two people who are very involved in a mansion mindset, meaning they like to improve their home together. That's why I said this pairing works good if one of you is a contractor and the other one's a fashion designer. One is an architect, the other one is an artist. All right. You got to have some complementary pairing unless you want to live in frustration. All right. The next one, number 5. We're almost done with our 6 styles for today. Number 5, the kids are us couple. The kids are us couple. I would have liked to be a kids are us couple, but I'm not there yet. All right. The kids are us couple. Kids are us couples can't wait to have children, usually lots of children. And they have a relationship that is often focused on the children. Now, I don't have natural children, but I do have godchildren, and I do enjoy them, and I like being around them. And my husband loves children, and he's a baby magnet. So in our life, we would love children. We just don't have any right now. All right. But this is a relationship where the focus is on the children. They may have a date night, but even this might be done with a view toward modeling a good marriage for the children. All right. Homeschooling or expensive private schooling may often be a priority for kids or us couples. This means an extra part of their budget, space in their house, or time on the clock will be spent in intentional focus on their children, because oftentimes they have the mindset that they are raising up the next generation or they're raising kingdom kids. Even vacations may be chosen with educational or family fun in mind. You can love kids, enjoy kids, and even miss parenting without being a kids or us couple. All right. So this is to the extreme. This is not just people who like children or people who plan to have children, but this is people who see their family as their purpose in life. They see their family as very missional. So everything they do has to do with their family. I have a friend like this who she felt a part of her main goal in life was to be a mother. She's had 15 children and 10 of her children survived. So she has 10 children. She's very active in the pro-life and abortion movements. She is a prime example of a kids are us couple. She's a homemaker. Her husband is a physician. Okay? They are very kids are us oriented. If you are truly a kids are us man who marries a woman who wants at most 2 children, you will be sorely tried and deeply disappointed with your life. If you're a woman who dreams of having natural born children, maybe 3 of them, and also adopting another 3 or 4 children, and you marry a man who might at most be willing to put up with 2 of his own children, biological, this could be a big mistake. So he's talking about marriage styles, that kids or us couples are people who enjoy having lots and lots of children. Their life is centered around their children. Their mission in their ministry is centered around their children. Their children go everywhere they go. They are a part of their mission, their ministry, and their purpose. There are people that I know like that, and their lives are awesome. Their lives are wonderful. Their kids are God-fearing. They're raising them in the fear and admonition of the Lord. They're becoming 2nd and 3rd generation ministers. That is a kids or us couple. Not everybody wants that style of marriage. So if you are in a relationship with someone who is telling you up front, women especially, they want lots and lots of children, I want you to consider that. I also want you to consider what your personal health is as a woman, and make sure that you're checking to see whether or not you are that childbearing woman. I know people don't want to hear that. But you do have some couples where the woman is trying to fulfill this kids are us couple's mission, and then it starts to begin to put her health into jeopardy. All right? Because there are some women that experience certain conditions while they're pregnant, and their doctor will begin to advise them that your body cannot continue to carry this kind of load. And there are several medical conditions out there. I know, what's the lady? Princess Kate in England. She has a certain condition like that, where the more children she carries, okay, it puts her in this dangerous position as she is going through the process of pregnancy. The same thing, I believe, with Kim Kardashian. She has a similar condition that actually endangers her life while she is pregnant. So if you are in a relationship with someone who's saying, I want to have, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 kids, I hope that as a woman, you are evaluating whether or not your body can do that. Okay? Last one for today, Bohemian buddies. I would happen to say my husband and I are a bit bohemian. All right? Passionate partners and bohemian, hun. Do you envision Sunday mornings or early afternoons taken up with reading through the New York Times, checking out the latest indie movie, having an apartment or house full of books, going to concerts, regular foreign travel, and fulfilling vocations? That's fine, unless you marry a person who is dedicated to business or devoted to ministry, to the down and out, or centered around the life of the local church. Now, I can say that I'm blessed to have both. A business-minded partnership, as well as a bohemian artistic buddy. I am very blessed, and I'm very thankful. Because I know everybody don't have that pairing. Praise Jesus. All right? This is also one of those lifestyles that usually precludes having a lot of kids. It's one thing to raise 10 children on a farm or 5 children in the suburbs. Yes, we can celebrate tonight. 5 children in the suburbs, but it's a little more difficult to have a large family while living in Manhattan or downtown Seattle. A lot of Christians might think of bohemian in negative terms, all right? But the reality is there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a redemptive presence in the arts community. Hallelujah. All right, just had to say that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a redemptive presence in the arts community. However, if you truly aspire towards an arts-oriented lifestyle, you may be frustrated hanging around a man or woman who puts up Thomas Kinkade prints on the walls and listens exclusively to mainstream music. And this is one preference that is really difficult to compromise on. A woman can join a book discussion group if her husband doesn't read. But what about your vacations? What about your weekends and your evenings? If they just want to read and listen to Fox News, while you're hoping to check out a movie or browse through a bookstore, okay, neither partner is going to feel much rest or intimacy on any given weekend or evening. All right. A quick warning here. I am throwing around some stereotypes. It is certainly possible for someone to read the Wall Street Journal and still be into the arts. This is intended to start a discussion and to get at the core of who you are, not to put you in a box. But the main point is to encourage you to consider who you really are, rather than basing your marriage on an ideal of what you hope to become. Your view of yourself needs to square with reality, not with who you hope to become. It is designed to help you push past the blindness inherent in being infatuated with a person without understanding and being very specific about what it is you like and what it is that person likes. All right? You need to be able to objectively identify whether the person that you are crazy in love with is actually a good fit for you for life. You do not want to be the person who is married and 30 days later you're saying, OMG, I have to deal with this for the rest of my life. I want a divorce. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that person who says, this marriage style is going to be trying and tedious, and I'm going to be on my face and I'm going to be on my knees every single day praying because I'm frustrated with the life I'm living with my spouse. Listen, marriage is not intended to be a war of wills. Can I say that again? Marriage is not intended to be a war of wills. Marriage is supposed to be rest. Go read Ruth chapter 3, verses 1. But you cannot have rest in a marriage that you are at odds with your spouse or your partner all the time. You want to go to the movies, they want to sit at home and do nothing. You want to go work out, they want to go to sleep. All the time, they don't want to do anything adventurous, and you're an adventurous person, it's going to be problematic. He says, even as a pastor, while I remain grateful for couples devoted primarily to their children, or couples whose lives seem to revolve around the local church, and those couples whose financial success helps to support the church, I also thank God for those believers who are active participants in sometimes marginalized communities like the arts, that often get neglected by churches because the entire community is written off as worldly or secular. Ask me how I know. And as pastors, because we are artists, we endeavor not to do that. We endeavor to make our space in our ministry welcome to all kinds of artists. This is why when you come into our service, we have space for you to move around and dance. We have space where if you want to bring in an easel and you want to paint during the ministry of the word, we welcome that. All right? You want to give a spoken word, we welcome that. But there are so many ministries that don't. Okay? God so loved the world that he sent his son. Isn't it at least possible that in his son's name, he might also send some of his children into the arts community? It is possible because I'm living it. Do you want to be one of those people? If you want to be one of those people, if you know you are a creative, if you know you are an artist, one of the best pieces of advice that I received when I was in the 5th grade from one of my favorite and dearest teachers who trained me, who mentored me. All right. She said to me, you are a creative. Marry an artist. If you marry an artist, they're going to understand you. I didn't know in the 5th grade that information that she gave me was going to be so important and vital to my decision making now. She said, you have so many gifts and so many talents that because you are so creative, you need to marry an artist. And she would tell me that often. Can I tell you I'm glad I listened? Because boy, oh boy. Thank God for my husband who can put up with me as an artist. Quirky, weird, up all times of the night, rolling over, praying, worshiping, going to the basement, getting music in the middle of the night, playing, praying, getting up, painting, drawing. Listen, it takes a special man to work with artistic, creative people. All right? Same thing with the female. It takes a special woman to really be married to an artistic, creative man. All right? A lot of times, they are not on other people's time clocks. They're on the time clock called creativity. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That was a word from the Lord for somebody. You are on the time clock called creativity. And therefore, somebody who runs off of 12 p.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., those two mindsets will clash unless this person is really compassionate and really empathetic to understand that creatives operate on flow. So as a writer, when the flow of writing hits, I have to jump in that flow and start writing. Because it's an ebb and a tide. It's an ebb and a wave. All right? So a lot of creatives operate on that flow. And you cannot have a spouse that is, oh, it's 10 o'clock, you must go to bed. That will drive you up the wall. It's 12 o'clock. Why aren't you in bed with me? Marry a creative. All right. Let me jump into Joe Hill's book. I want to make sure I get some sections read. Let me tell you a little bit about Joe Hill. Joe Hill wrote this book to answer some questions and to help men navigate marriage. It says down here, it is a marriage manual for men. I will give you some of his, what he says in the intro of his book. He says, if I can teach someone who reads this book how to save their marriage, how to step up and be the protective prince our ladies deserve and desire, and how to keep your woman falling in love with you continually over a span of decades, I will have accomplished something truly noble. I may or may not get the opportunity to apply these principles I learned in my own future relationship. Only God knows if there will ever be another Mrs. because Joe is actually divorced. He says, but if I ever do, watch out. Therefore, until that time comes, please accept my heartfelt advice and sincere wish to offer something of real applicable value from someone who has been there, has failed, but has learned what worked and what didn't. A famous singer back in the day had a hit called, "If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, fall in love with your wife." It is my deepest desire that something in this short book may help someone do just that. All right. And so some of the contents that Mr. Hill talks about in his book is dating doesn't end with I do. Chivalry did not die in feminism. He talks about the lost art of conversation, looking for someone to touch, work that vacuum boy, which is a very humorous chapter, learning how and when to fight, the other 3 words that she needs to hear, be an engaged father to your children, important dates or opportunities, overlooking those little things, foreplay starts in the kitchen. And he actually goes into detail about the erogenous zones on a woman and just really giving men some basic instructions on how to build attraction with your spouse. All right. So it is a man's manual. And I'm not going to give away the really steamy pieces of this book. I'll let you order it. Okay. But I'm going to read Flattery Will Get You Everywhere if I have time. And if you are looking for Bathsheba, you will find her. So let me start with Flattery Will Get You Everywhere. He says, we discussed in an earlier chapter the importance of communication. Even the men who are better communicators don't talk nearly as much during the course of a normal day as women do. I believe I read somewhere that women speak on average around 7,000 words daily compared to about 2,000 for men. If this is close to accurate, it is important that men are deliberate in complimenting their mates with all sincerity. Some studies indicate that men who shower their wives with many more positive comments than negative ones tend to have much longer and more successful marriages. Men are typically creatures who are stimulated visually, which would explain the continuing popularity of non-contact gentlemen clubs. We can be moved at the mere sight of a nice butt, with no words, no sound, and no contact. While women certainly appreciate the same visual stimuli, their real juices get flowing when their emotions are stirred by affirming comments given by their men. For many women, intimacy begins with words and compliments. Joe Hill is right. All right? You would think men would find it easier to flatter their wives than it really appears to be. Again, men are not the most expressive in matters of the heart or intimacy. Ask men to describe a square box, and we will say it has 4 equal square sides, a top and a bottom. Ask a woman, and she will also describe the corners, the shadows, depending on the light source, the color of the box, how the box feels, how much it weighs, what kind of tape is being used to hold the box together, if it has any odors coming from the inside. She will describe the types of items that would fit into the box and how many would fit in her closet. We communicate differently for sure. Once men can truly grasp the importance of words to a woman, he will have much more success in his relationship. Compliments can come in a variety of ways, and here are some examples. But you're an architect, hon. That's different. That's why you can give an analysis of a box in great detail. You're the exception. All right? So, here are some examples of compliments women want and need to hear, along with the reasoning for these particular comments. All right? You can use your own words, but you will get the point. So here is one. All right? Our children are so lucky to have you for their mother or their mom. Men will never fully appreciate the bond between a mother and her children. A mother almost always wonders if she's doing enough, if she's doing it right, if if her kids or her husband ever take notice of the work and sacrifice that she puts into being a mother. The love she packs into nightly meals or lunches, the concern she has for their welfare. Your children are the blessing of your physical and emotional union. It is not only important that she hears and knows that she is a good mother, it is important to her that you see it, find value in it, and find it attractive as yet another reason for you to love her. It is also important that your children hear you compliment her mothering, so they too are more aware of the sacrifices she makes for the family. Here's another one. You are such a good cook. Now, this was especially special to me as a woman because I didn't start out as a good cook. I started out almost burning down my dorm room, okay? I started out setting the stove on fire, boiling water. So it is especially meaningful for me when I hear my husband say, that food was really good. When he hops off of the chair and starts dancing and wiggling his hips because the food is so good, that really, really, really makes me feel good inside, okay? To get the verbal affirmation and to get the wiggle hips, Mr. Wiggle Hips up and dancing and moving, all right? Because the food tastes good, that is very affirming, all right? He says, I have seen that even with career-minded women, there is still a desire to be skillful at what we would normally call womanly things. The old cliche that the best way to a man's heart is through his stomach can hold true for many women. I believe they not only want to know that they have mad cooking skills, but that their planned nightly menus and preparation of your meals is received as nourishment for the heart and body, and that you love every morsel. This is especially true if her skills are still being honed. Burnt macaroni actually tastes pretty good. Now, one thing that I want to compliment my husband on is the fact that as I was still learning, okay, as I was still building my repertoire of meals to cook that my husband could eat, all right, and not feel poisoned by, all right, he was very gracious to me. So it didn't matter if I cooked and we ate yellow rice all week long, or we ate yellow rice for 3 weeks straight until I got it down. He was very gracious to me in terms of being patient and eating what was put out, okay, that was needed improvement, but he wasn't critical of my growing in that area. And I think lots of men can actually stand to benefit from scaling down their criticism and really saying, I'm actually glad that you're trying. I'm actually glad that you're improving. I'm actually glad that you're reading cookbooks to open up and expand, right, the kinds of meals that you're putting on the table. So that is an excellent point. You are such a good cook is a great compliment to give your spouse. Here's another one. I was thinking about you today. I can't stop thinking about you. You are always on my mind. This is self-explanatory. Women, young or old, delight in the thought that she is on her man's mind. Knowing that when you are apart, you still think of her is an affirmation statement that she will never get tired of hearing. It may also create a sense of curiosity. What were you thinking? Okay? Of her love? Were you thinking of her smile? Were you thinking of her curves? Were you thinking of your previous night of passion and you were reliving those moments? Let her wonder, but make it known by your comments that in some form or fashion, she was on your mind while you were working or playing. All right? Here's another one. You are breathtaking in that outfit. It can be a dress. It can be jeans. It can be a bathing suit. It can be her muumuu with her hair in rollers. Tell her that she's breathtaking. This is good advice. This is good stuff. Getting dressed for any occasion is generally a snap for a man. A white or a blue shirt, a black or a gray suit, matching shoes, one of maybe 5 ties, and we are done. a piece of cake. In some cases, your wife will tell you what to wear and make it even easier. But I can't begin to describe the process of elimination that women go through in finding the right dress, matching it with the shoes, liking a certain pair of shoes better than another pair, maybe her low pumps versus her high heeled shoes, changing the dress only to find matching the purse she thought she had the shoes for is missing, which starts the whole process over again. And let's not forget her makeup, her manicure, and all these other things that she wants to match together to make sure that her outfit is well put together. By the time she finally feels presentable, the first words out of any man's mouth who has the least bit of compassion, self-preservation, and common sense better be complimentary. It better not be, your butt looks a little too big in that dress. It better not be, I can see that roll you have that's over here on your shoulder. If you have common sense, your voice, your words need to be complimentary. You may notice all those other things, but don't let that be the first thing that you notice. Beyond what we mentioned earlier about how infrequent it can become for couples to dress up and go out, it is easy for us men to forget how lovely our wives are in an attractive and well-cut dress. If she goes through the process just described, without a single glance or acknowledgement from you on her apparel choice, it will be a long night, and you will most likely have no clue why. Remember this: if she's in a dress, you must express. If she dresses up, you should be complimenting up, not down. All right? So those are some of the pieces. I didn't go through all of them, but this is chapter 8, where he goes into the kind of flattery that a woman appreciates. And Joe Hill is on point. All right, I want to go to his last chapter as we close today, because I think in this day and age, it's actually a very good topic, and I'm glad that he put it in his book. The topic is, if you are looking for Bathsheba, you will find her. Let me take a sip on that. In scripture, there's a story of a man named David, the king of Israel. King David had everything any man could ever want. So it wasn't like King David was starving for women, was starving for female attention. He already had wives. So let's dispel that notion. He had power and authority as the nation's ruler. He had fame and riches from his many battle victories and the resulting plunder. He was a gifted musician that others loved to hear, and he had the most beautiful women in all of Israel as his wives. He literally had it all, everything except one woman. One night while strolling the roof of his palace, he spotted a woman in another dwelling bathing, and he was immediately struck and captured by her beauty. He could have simply admired her as we all would and moved on. But instead, he stayed, he gazed, he became fixated. He obsessed over her, dwelled on her, fantasized over her until the burning desire was too great to deny. So he, being king, took advantage of his position and turned Bathsheba into a Me Too candidate. I said that. Okay, that's not in the book. He sent for her, took her for his own, even though she was married to another man and one of the king's own army officers. It was a lack of discretion that would eventually cost him dearly. In today's world, it isn't very difficult for a man to come across a beautiful woman they may find irresistible, having a sexual attraction perhaps greater than that for his own wife. Being attracted to other women or appreciating the beauty and physical features of another woman is natural and not usually a problem. Even women will notice or sometimes comment on other women and how beautiful they are. It is not in noticing where the trouble begins. It is in the obsession, the refusal, or the inability to see, appreciate, and move on that allows obsession to give birth to temptation, which gives birth to infidelity. There is little more unforgivable than for a man to become unfaithful to a wife who has given him absolutely no reason to stray. He just saw something he had to have and couldn't help himself. In most cases, the thrill of the affair is not worth the price paid through a broken relationship, family, and divorce. I've heard both men and women make comments along the line that chasing other women is just something that men do. I find this excuse to justify and defend infidelity in unfaithful husbands reprehensible, and so do I, Joe Hill. You have this beautiful woman who has committed her life to being your companion, perhaps giving you children, offered her body to you alone, tolerated your bad days, your struggles, many times without notice or thanks, and finds honor in being your wife. But you easily dismiss all of that when a tight butt or cleavage captures your attention in a flattering manner and you feel the need for youthful conquest. In that moment of weakness, your wife, your children, and their futures and welfare are all discarded so you can have a physical encounter to satisfy a temporary urge, like King David. And the results of a moment of pleasure are a broken home, a broken trust, a divided family with visitation rights on weekends. No marriage is perfect. If you successfully implement everything in this book, there will be missteps, bad days, quarrels, and challenges that just naturally happen when two people share lives every day. If a man is looking for some superficial excuse to wander into the arms of another woman, it will be easy enough for him to find one and justify it in his own mind. She's not the same woman I married, or she just doesn't understand me anymore, or she doesn't meet my physical needs. There exists the theory of the 7-year itch that implies that after a matter of years of being together, men just by nature begin to look for someone new because they get bored easily and need some excitement. Truth be known, this happens with women as well. The whole idea behind the composition of this book is to find and implement ways to prevent boredom and monotony so that these false indicators of needing something new and fresh do not overwhelm a man's ability to reason with his larger head and make better decisions for his marriage and his family. All right. He says something very important here, and I'm skipping a couple of paragraphs because I want to make sure I read this. He says, our Bathshebas may be women we work with, the young secretary or the woman who shares an office or cubicle with us. Workplace affairs are so common and predictable for a very good reason. We spend the best and most productive 8 hours of every day, not with our wives often, but often with our coworkers. We may have our morning coffee with them, take lunch breaks with them, spend meetings with them, and in some cases are required to travel with them. That's a full 8 hours each day. Compare that with the time spent at home with your wife. You may see each other for an hour over breakfast, a sleepy haze before rushing off to work. You return at the end of the day for 4 to 5 hours exhausted from the day's activities, and then you're off to sleep. So, as you can see, not only does your wife get fewer hours with you than your job does, she gets the hours that you may not be at your best. She may be giving you all the attention you could want, but you're actually maybe too tired to even see it. Instead, you see your coworker during the hours that you are refreshed and attentive, and they give you the wanted attention and you receive it better because you're in more productive and alert hours. It's a vicious cycle. Men must recognize this phenomenon for what it is and deal with it proactively in your reasoning and deliberately in your actions. Avoid excess time spent with coworkers that your job does not require. Remind yourself of the loving family you are working hard to support. Recall precious moments spent with your wife that will vanish into thin air like a mist that never existed if you follow through with sexual urges for another woman. Guard your heart against intruders like you are guarding your home against would-be burglars. If you all give me about 5 more minutes, I'll be done today. There are certainly other opportunities for a man to spot his Bathsheba. You want your wife to continue to be physically attracted to you. So maybe you go to the gym to work out 3 or 4 nights per week. Gyms can be a disaster for a man wanting to remain faithful. There you see women who are not only beautiful and physically fit, but you see them in some of the most revealing workout clothes imaginable. From shorts to yoga pants, there is little left to imagine, and her form is on display for anyone who wants to notice. You may make a connection because you're both physically active and share common fitness goals. You become workout buddies, which not only allows you to spend time with her, but puts you in even closer proximity to her body, which captured your attention in the first place. You watch her sweat, you share juice at the juice bar, and it just happens. You didn't see the warning signs, or you ignored them because she flattered you with her attention, and you didn't put up any resistance. The end result is the same. A momentary discretion causes a lifetime of regrets. Do you think that you're above all of that because you're a good church-attending husband? Guess again. Because people in a church feel they are protected by a shared faith, they mistakenly drop their defenses. An innocent cup of coffee after a service or a ride home because it's on the way, and oops, you did it again. This Bathsheba is the most deceitful of all because she comes to you at the very place you seek strength and guidance to avoid such advances, and men are completely caught off guard by the church Bathsheba. You see, it doesn't really matter where you are, where you spend time, how strong you think you are in your marriage. There are Bathshebas waiting for men around every corner. There are the ones you are actively looking for because you may feel a perceived inadequacy in your marriage. There are the ones who are actively seeking a safe night of passion, and a married man tells no secrets. It's almost like walking through a firing range training session where the enemy can literally pop up anywhere and at any time. You have to be ready to defend yourself and your marriage against any and all attacks. But this can only be possible when a man is truly 100% committed to his marriage. As soon as doubt creeps in, feelings of unappealingness of your wife, any hint of getting old, you open the door just enough for the slightest shadow of compromise to enter. So you must be on guard. Again, if you haven't been in a long-term relationship that failed, you cannot know how devastating it is to be looking in on your family activities like a poor child peering into the window of a department store they cannot enter. It is heartbreaking and gut-wrenching and leaves you with haunting regrets and constant reminders that you alone are responsible for your marital demise. Know how to spot a Bathsheba in your life. Identify in your mind, women you may already know who might be one. Activities you engage in where a Bathsheba may be revealed. Reasons why you might notice her in the first place. Work now while you can to eliminate any and all occasions where time spent in compromising situations would lead to any lack of sane judgment. If an alcoholic knows he can't say no to liquor, he knows to stay out of the bars or any place where liquor is being served. In the same manner, learn how to avoid opportunities where your resolve will be tested and lead you to fall off of the marital fidelity wagon. I've read for you some excerpts from a very, very powerful book, Marriage Manual for Men by Joe Hill, which is entitled Sex Begins in the Kitchen. Again, his work is available on Amazon.com. It is in ebook form as well as in the hardcover form. And I believe it's $9.99 for the hardcover. So it's not a very expensive book. As a man, he is speaking man to man. He shares much more in detail about the realm of sexual engagement that I'm not going to read on my broadcast, but it is a very good manual for men who want to hear from someone who is a believer, who has made mistakes, and is trying to bring some very practical teaching to men on how to not make the same mistakes. All right. So I pray that you got something out of today's readings. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogue. Remember, tomorrow we're only going to be covering, we'll be in the book on why so many gods, and we'll be talking a little bit about occult practices, and then we're going to go right into our giveaway. So tomorrow will be a short broadcast as we celebrate 100 episodes for season 2. All right, I want to thank you again for your time and attention. Take care, and remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so please go out today and be light. Take care, and God bless. All right, and I want to thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Joe Hill, for allowing me to read your book and make my commentary on your book. I believe it is an excellent resource for young men who simply want some answers to some of the questions and things that may not be talked about and discussed in an open setting. I believe that this is a good tool for them to get started on that conversation of being a husband, and being a husband who not only has the title, but also someone who can begin to walk the walk and be successful in their marriage relationship. So again, I want to thank you for allowing me to read from your book today. All right. Thank you to those of you who tuned in, and please share this broadcast with someone that you know is in a committed relationship and is looking to improve, with someone that you know that is married and may be looking for ways to improve their marital covenant. All right. Take care, and God bless.